You all have no idea how completely ridiculous my filming setup is right now. But we're back, and we are looking at an oldie but a greatie. This is actually a figure that I've been wanting to reacquire for quite some time. It just was never quite that high on the list in terms of like all the other stuff I wanted to get. So I kept putting him on the back burner and just kept happening until one day thing I was watching on eBay. They made an offer, and it was like pretty decent price. So yeah, G2 Megatron. I have G2 Megatron now. I used to have this like back in the day. I got it when it first came out, held on to it for a while, and then like a lot of my Transformers stuff, I sold it off because I'm a fool. And this was years and years ago. And I've been wanting to get him back ever since, and now I have him. Now, anyone who's interested in seeing the electronics that this guy has, tough luck. I took the batteries out because I didn't want to risk them eroding the battery case, and also the electronics in this one, while they work, they're not super consistent. So like sometimes it'll do the shooting sound when you launch a missile, sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll do the Megatron attack thing, sometimes it won't. So sorry if you wanted to see the electronics, but that's not going to happen here. What is going to happen, though, is we're just going to talk about G2 Megatron in general. And this is a really nice, solid, chunky tank. There's a lot of nice heft to this. It's sturdy feeling and solid and nice. The chrome's actually in pretty good shape, too. You go along the wheels, along the base there. And, of course, along this side. And as you might expect, it's got that horrendous 90s color scheme of bright green and dark purple, because yeah, that'll totally blend in, as I'm sure everyone's mentioned. And the highlighter orange little accents and stickers all over the place, and this is just a terrible color scheme, and I absolutely love it. It is amazing. I actually got the Ocular Max Robus, I believe, their version of Brawl, in the G2 colors, even though I already own the full like G1 colors set of Assaultus, including Probus. I got Probus in G2 colors again, so now I own two of the same figure because I love that green and purple color scheme so much. It looks so good. So yeah, I love it on Megatron. This is kind of like the quintessential purple and green Transformers tank, and it's wonderful. And those neon orange highlights are also just wonderful. Now, this guy does have a couple of missiles. The one, the listing that I got, he did come with a couple. And the other one that's in there does not want to come out, which means I'm going to have to fire it. So, yeah, we're just going to block it with my hand. But he comes with, normally I think like 5 of these missiles, and this guy came with 2, which I think is actually pretty good. And to activate it, you just pull this back. And once that's clicked into place, you push this button to fire it. So you just push the button, and it launches the missile pretty forcefully, too. And I also just think it's cool how the little lid opens up, and you just slide the missiles in. You line up little grooves with the tracks in there, and they just drop right in. Really nice. This one, I think because of the age, the lid doesn't like to stay closed. It just kind of keeps popping out a little bit. It's like slightly warped. And you know, given the age, given the fact that I paid, I think like $30 for this, I'm fine with that. But yeah, that's G2 Megatron. He's just a big, ugly-looking tank, and I love him for it. Now, what's the best way to do this? Because, as I said, he is big, and I mean pretty darn big. Let's readjust things here and bring out the usual folks. There's Artfire and Rotor Storm and Samus and Burnout. So you can see that, yeah, G2 Megatron is kind of a large fellow. I mean, he's a very large fellow. And get these out of the way because there's actually one more size comparison I want to make before we get to the one you're all here for. And that is Universe, Legion, or Legends, or whatever this was, Megatron, because they're just so cute together. It's so adorable. It's like watching, I don't know, 90s camouflage animals in the wild with their baby. I just love it. It does make me wish that this guy's colors were much more bright and vibrant, because I think that would be fun, but oh well. Now, of course, one more tank that we've got to do a comparison with. Here is G2 Megatron with the duck tank. Alright, time to transform G2 Megatron. Oh boy. It's a thing I never really thought I'd be saying on this channel when I first started. But yes, it is extremely simple for anyone who's not already familiar with it. I'm going to do the legs first, just because. So I'm going to pull this section down and away, and it has these hinges down here that kind of hinge down and around. And before attaching everything, I'm going to pop these doors at the bottom open and open. That will allow us to swing these sections out, and these will slide in or out, whatever you want to look at it. And that will kind of recenter the legs. They clip in just above what normally would be the knee, like so. Then we can fold these back in, and these little tab sections here go over this section here to close off back the leg. Fold out his little toes. And then this comes down, and these bits here hook into these slots just behind the wheels. And it's also kind of cool, the wheels sit into these little grooves here. So you get the wheels, but you also get to tuck them away for the robot mode. Now, obvious Gur-Tank joke aside, I'm going to separate out the turret section. Bring these bits down, rotate these sections around, and give them a little bit of a bend just to add some dynamicness to the arms. And, I'll lift this up now. So this does lift up in the tank mode, but that's all it does. But I prefer to lift it up because it gives you a clear view of the robot mode head from all angles. So lift that up, and this slides this way on this little track here. And when you slide it up, his head pops up. And the head does absolutely nothing, but you can push it down to make him say words if the electronics had batteries. And that is G2 Megatron. And I actually need to pull the camera back a little bit, because he is tall. Actually, just for the sake of the video, I'm going to bring the cannon down so that we can keep him in frame a little bit easier. Yeah, there is G2 Megatron. He's just a big old slab of green and purple. Mostly green, with a little bit of grayish silver revealed now. I do think it's cool how when he transforms, pretty much all of that grayish color is hidden. That is neat. And he's a block. He's a brick. He's a freezer block. He's a pallet. I don't know. He's a mess. And he is awesome. I love this thing. I wish I'd held on to it when I had it before, but it's fine. All things considered, I feel like this is in about the same shape mine was in, so it's fine. Like, it doesn't seem to be missing any overt stickers, so I can deal with it. And yeah, he's just a big box of a robot. And yet he still does kind of pull off the Megatron look, primarily in the head. But man, G2 was weird. And yeah, as you can see, he's got some sort of bizarre proportions, with the front of the tank sticking out so far, and the gigantic legs, and then stick arms. But I love him. I'm so glad I have him again. And he is covered in small details, not like intense greebles, but you've got some added detail here. I mean, a lot of this stuff you can see in the tank mode, but then you've also got the midriff and underwear section that has some miscellaneous sci-fi details on it. Like, this kind of stuff does not say Transformers to me. This says more like Mars converters, like just generic robot molded detail. Kind of along here too. And I think that kind of makes sense because this was G2. They were still feeling it out. They didn't really understand what they wanted Transformers to be yet. You know, they were throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks with, like, you know, the tail end of G1 with Pretenders and all of that stuff. They did, like, you know, the Action Masters and whatnot eventually. So yeah, it makes sense that this doesn't really scream specific character and is more just generic robot. What doesn't scream generic robot and does actually say this is a specific character is that ridiculous but glorious head. And it's definitely the Megatron helmet shape. It's a little puffy, a little bit bulbous compared to kind of what I'm used to. But again, it's G2. For some reason, he has these little cannons on the side flaps of the helmet. But like the face, I think, in conjunction especially with what's going on right up here. Like if we ignore these little flaps along the side, that is very, very Megatron. But it's got those angry eyes, got the pouty lips, the chiseled nose and cheeks. I kind of like how the face looks like it's like a gemstone almost that just has a face on it, just like the shape of the face with like these triangle cheeks. And of course it's metallic purple, because why not? Yeah, it's a really nice looking head, and since we are talking about the head, it's time to talk about articulation, and well, you can do this. The arms can turn around like this. They can't go up and down unless you angle them this way, because that joint is actually, that joint rotates with the arm. So you can kind of use it as like a butterfly joint slightly, and then you do get technically a bicep rotation, but it only works when the arm is, when the elbow is bent to a full 90 or is straightened out completely. Because when it's bent like this flap goes into this groove here, which, you know, thinking about the age of the toy and the fact that articulation was not big on these, that's actually huge. The fact that they carved a channel so that you could bend the arms like that is pretty wild. They could have just had these rotate and not bend at all and come up like that. So that's pretty cool. But because of the way that works, you cannot rotate the arm if it's partially bent like that, because that corner is still sticking inside there. And I guess technically you can unplug the leg to get a little bit of a knee bend, but then that pops this door open. If you leave the door plugged in, you're only going to bend the leg about that much. And that doesn't really accomplish anything. And he can bend his little toes. That does absolutely nothing. And that is it for G2 Megatron's articulation. He is a brick. A glorious brick. All hail Megatron the brick, but it is a brick. That said, he's still really cool. And like I said, I like the reveal detail, even if it is a little bit generic. Even along the back, we saw briefly, but like there's this detail of the backs of the shoulders that doesn't need to be there. You don't see that in tank mode, and you're not going to see it in robot mode unless you're looking at him from behind. So that's neat. And also just the little fact that they painted his underwear all the way around. They could have left it blank back here because it's the back of the figure, but they didn't. Which, you know, G2, early 90s. That's kind of, or late 80s, early 90s. I forget when this guy came out, but yeah. I don't really have any criticisms I think I can levy at this thing. The only thing that kind of disappoints me a little bit is the orientation of this sticker. I guess that's the G2 Decepticon logo. It is upside down in robot mode. And I know why. It's because, you know, when it's this way for the tank mode, it's going to be facing that way. And I get that, but I kind of wish it had been flipped around so that it was, you know, right side up in robot mode. But hey, that's a sticker. That's not necessarily on Hasbro. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this guy. He is a mess, as I said, but like a wonderful, amazing, incredible, glorious piece of history and just all around great toy sense. I love this thing. It's not great, but it is also amazing. And also, as I said, huge. This is actually a much bigger figure than I remembered. Because I didn't have this figure in my possession since, like, I want to say the early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s. I forget when it was I got rid of him. But this was back when we were in, like, you know, I was still living with my parents. I think this is maybe before I even met Diana, let alone got married. But it was a long time ago. So I forgot how big this guy is, but he is huge. It was fun trying to figure out how to fit him on the shelf. I did it, but it was a challenge. And now he looks completely ridiculous up there with all these other grimdark, serious face Megatrons, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Then, of course, there is the Legends, Legion, whatever figure, and again, they're so tiny down there. I love it. Again, though, I do wish this guy was a little bit more vibrant. But for anyone who has not seen this guy yet, if you're interested in small-scale Transformers, get this guy, because he is just wonderful. He's simple, yes, but he is a joy. And also relatively posable, considering. But of course, comparison that really matters, here is G2 Megatron with the duck tank. And that is gonna do it for Transformers Generation 2 Megatron. This guy is, like I said, it's a piece of history. He's wonderful and extremely limited, very basic, but also great, fun to mess with, fun to transform back and forth. I don't have any of the other accessories, like I think he comes with a little pistol and possibly a radar dish or something. This is all I've got. And this is all I need. I didn't even necessarily need the missiles, but it's cool that they're there. And yeah, this guy's great. And if you want one, good news is they're really not that difficult to track down in pretty decent condition for a good price. If you're patient, if you're observant, you can probably find one that may not be 100% complete, may not have all of the stickers, but probably find one for a really good price. And if you don't have one, I would highly recommend him because he's just fun. Just to, make sure you've got the shelf space because this guy is a bit of a space hog. Anyway, that is going to do it. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm just now realizing I forgot to do the Patreon and Show Z stuff. So I'll do it now. Yeah, if you like this video and want to support the channel or just want early access to videos, I do have Patreon as a single $1 tier. That's the only thing I've got because that's all I can really manage right now. But that gets you early access to videos in addition to just supporting the channel monetarily, which I would appreciate but is not necessary. Also, if you want to support the channel without spending any money, I do have a link to ShowZ's Discord down in the description, and ShowZ is a site that I do a lot of ordering for overseas stuff, like mainly third-party figures. But shipping's pretty fast considering it's coming from the other side of the world. It's usually free. I think the only time I've ever paid to ship from ShowZ is when I elected to do it. But even the free shipping is relatively quick, all things considered, like within a week or two. Really good prices, great customer service, and if you use the link in the description to join ShowZ's Discord server, which is its own thing, does a lot of fun stuff. They have like events and contests and stuff, and it's just a great place to talk to people who love toys. If you join using that link, I get 50 points on the site that I can use towards purchasing other toys from ShowZ, which then gives me more stuff to make videos on. But with all of that out of the way, again, thank you all for... This is why I feel bad when I say I don't edit anymore, because I have to leave stuff like this in. But thank you everybody for watching again. And still have no idea what the new intros, or outro rather, is going to be, so See you next time. Schnitz bites. That's a deep cut.